Welcome. In today's video, we're not doing AC. We're doing something that I feel some people should know about, if not everybody, and that is how to do cursive writing. You've seen some of these old movies where someone's writing and it's all just swoopy and every letter's connected. And so I know a little bit of cursive. We're going to go through this. I'm going to show you guys how to do the alphabet, uppercase, lowercase. I apologize for the blurring of the camera. Focus. So, without wasting too much time, let's get into it. First off, I find it easier to have the paper tilted because in print, which is what most people do, the letters are perpendicular to the paper. In cursive, they are supposed to be written at a slight slant, and that can be improved if you hold your paper like that. Now I'm going to go and use two rows here to show you the difference in the letters. You can write the letters all in one row, but for illustrative purposes, we'll go and use 2 rows and cheat a little bit. So, starting off with the letter A, I hope you guys can see this decently enough. We start at the top, we're going to work down, up, swoop down. So we start at the top, we come down, up, back down. You can connect the top, you can have a little swoop over the end. Now, if you look up cursive, it will show it connected, but cursive is supposed to be a freedom of writing, an art form, so any minor flourishes or exaggerations of certain curves and stuff, I think that's fine. It helps it make it your signature. So we have the uppercase A. We now did the lowercase a. Now the way I like to train to do it is I like to start here, up, down, and swoop. Most places will show you to start at the top, down, and swoop, like we just did with this guy, but on a smaller scale. So, and you'll see why I prefer to have that there at the bottom when we're done with the alphabet, if I remember to do that. Next up is B. We are going to start just under the top line here, swoop up, straight down, back up, over, little swoop, big swoop, flourish at the end. Lowercase b, start at the bottom, come up, loop down, back up, and over. These extra lines at the end are how you end up connecting your letters when you chain them together to make a word. Because cursive, you don't just write how I'm writing here by having each letter split with a space in between. They're supposed to be connected. Now, individual words are separated, but the letters within the words are connected. Going on to C. Start at or just over the top line, down, little curl, come down, up. Pretty simple. Lowercase c, start at the bottom, up, down. Now I'm drawing them a little bit blockier than I would write them. I'll speed write how I do the alphabet. At the end, I'm just trying to show you the basics of how they're done. And you can pause, go back, and look at this video at any point. Going to the letter D, I like to start here, come down, curl, swoop at the top. Now, capital letters are not always supposed to connect to the lowercase letters if it is the first letter of a sentence. So the little swoopies at the end don't always have to line up with capitals, but if I can make it fit, I try to make it fit. Lowercase d, start at the bottom, up to halfway, back down, up, swoop, over. Now, sometimes I'll have a noticeable curve here, and sometimes on my letters you'll see that I have just basically a straight line. That's a flourish that you can add when you do your own cursive. Most of the sites and stuff that I've seen that have cursive, sorry, most of the sites that I see will emphasize that all the letters that have a swoop like that have a full swoop. Some of them, though, when I do it, I will do some of them with no swoop. Moving on to the letter E. E is fun. We start at the top of the line, come down, do a swoop, just over the middle, do that, and such. Now, I did not bring it all the way down to the bottom of the line. That was my fingers not letting me do what I wanted to do. I would prefer to see that come to the bottom of the line. A capital letter should pretty much touch the top of the line, touch the bottom line. Lowercase e, very fun. Start at the bottom, make a curl up to the halfway point, and over. Going on to F. F, very fun. Start at the top, come down, over, flourish, come down, back, over, make an F. Again, I did not touch the bottom. I emphasize you should try to touch the bottom. And I use a felt tip marker because that lets me flow better. You can use a ballpoint pen, but you'll notice it'll dry out and you'll go back and retrace more than what you probably should. So if you're writing cursive to start with, try using a marker or a felt tip pen, something that functions like a marker and just has flowing ink and doesn't require much, if any, pressure at all on the paper. Let's see, where am I? Lowercase f. This one is very fun. We start at the bottom. We come most of the way up to the top, if not all the way up. Under, swoop. We actually go below the line here. And it looks like a B, but the B is kind of elongated and breaks the fourth dimension there. F for fourth dimension. You break that fourth wall there. Going on to G. Now, this is where you've probably seen the cursive version of G and didn't know it. In the cereal aisle, you'll have Olin Mills or something, I forget the brand name, but you'll see this symbol on the box, referring to the grain or something of the cereal brand. Come up, down, over the top of the halfway point, back and over. Does that look familiar to you? You'll see that at the top corner of your cereal boxes. Check that out next time you're in the grocery aisle. Lowercase g. Bottom, over, down, flourish. Again, lowercase should touch the middle line, but you roll with it. It's supposed to be a flow. It's supposed to be in a form of expression. So, moving on to H. Now H, pulling out a blank sheet for just a second. H, when people do an H, you come down off the top. I'm doing 3 lines here just to show more expression here. You come down, up, and over like that. Doesn't look very fancy to me. So here's how I do my capital H. I come off the top for the start. I come down off the top here, swoop out, and through. That gives the H a little bit more character, a little bit more room for expression. I like it a lot better. Lowercase h. Start at the bottom, up to the top, down, curve, and then start your lowercase h. Now, H, I'll usually not do that full swoop. I'll usually have that closed up there at the top. But that's me. That may not be you. I'm trying to show you the more standard way of doing it with a few exceptions like the H. Going to I. Now, I've seen people do it both directions, and I kind of like to do it backwards. You're supposed to start at your halfway point, come back, down, swoop, and like so. I find the I easier to do coming up, back, and over. I like to do my capital I's like that. Lowercase I, very fun. Start at the bottom, come up to the middle, down and swoop. Dot. And you got to make sure that you keep your E's and your I's noticeably different when you're writing. That's something to consider. Going on to J. J for Jasper. You're on Jasper EDC's channel. I am Jasper. So we will do a capital J. We start at the bottom, go all the way up to the top, and swoop. Bunch of swoopy doos here. Gotta love cursive. Lowercase j, very much like the I, but with a little difference. We start at the bottom, up to the halfway point, down, and making sure, looking over at my other chart, because my brain goes blank in the middle. You start at the bottom, up, down, swoop, dot. Now, when you're writing a full word and you have multiple I's, J's, and stuff that you have to dot, T's, and such, you leave the dots and the slashes out. You just do the base letters, and then you go back and touch up with your dot your I's and cross your T's. K. K is very fun. We start here at the top, swoop, down. Very much like the H. Then we come down for the next part. We start over some, however far away you prefer for your K's. Like so. And make sure that you make yours look different than the H so that you know which one's which. Lowercase k, very much like the H. This is where you got to be careful, because half the times my H's look like K's and my K's look like H's. You have to be very careful with how you do this. Start at the bottom, swoop up, come down, back up to the middle, back, and down. That is your lowercase k. And you can see how when you're writing fast, how you may forego this little part right here and end up making it look more like an H. You can see how that could happen. So keep your eye on that. L, very fun. We start over, swoop, back down to the bottom, curl, over, and we even go under the line a little bit here at the bottom. We start at the top, curve up, swoop down, reverse flick, over, lowercase l, or uppercase L. Now we do the lowercase l. And L is pretty much basically how you get that swoop on the H and the K's. We start at the bottom, up to the top, and down. It's basically a tall E. This is the lowercase l. That's a better way to saying it. Basically just stretch your E all the way up to the top. That's your lowercase l. Going on to M. We start just under the top of the line. We curve up to the top of the line, come down, up, down, a little less high, down, over. We want the M to kind of slant that way. That is uppercase M. Lowercase m, we start at the bottom, up, very narrow down, a wider down, another wide down, curve up, and there you have it. Again, I emphasize, feel free to pause the video, go back, rewatch. I'm sorry that I'm probably not doing this as good as I should or could. I'm doing what I can here, and I hope this helps you learn how to write in cursive. When we are done with the alphabet, I will show you how I write the alphabet normally, and then I'll see about doing a follow-up video showing you how to combine these into words. I'll pick like a description from a magazine or something, and we'll try to write what we see in print in cursive. So stick around for a follow-up video. Going on to N. Basically, the M just minus a bump. We start just under the top, up to the top, down, very high up, and over. uppercase N. Lowercase n, we start at the bottom, up to the middle, down, over. Going to the O, we start at the top. Start wherever you feel comfortable. Here, imagine the top curve of the O, and just pick a spot somewhere on your right side of that O. Start there, come down, over, little flick at the top. Lowercase o, we start at the bottom, up to the middle, back down, and swoop. Now we do the letter P. We start halfway, like 3/4 of the way up from the bottom. Start about here. Up, down, back up, and there you go. Now you can add a little swoop, do whatever, but that was the basics there. Lowercase p, very similar. Start at the bottom, up to the halfway, down, up, and there. Now again, whenever you see these loops on a letter, you can make them smaller, you can make them bigger. You don't have to copy what I'm seeing here exactly. Your hands are going to be different than mine. You'll write what feels better to you. These are just kind of the basic crash course shapes. On to Q. Q is very fun. Think of the capital Q as a very flourishy 2. But instead of starting at the top of the 2 and coming down, we'll start all the way at the bottom, over, and then under the bottom line. You can kind of see how I think of it as a big 2. Kind of think of writing a 2 with a large head. Lowercase q is basically the G, but with this bottom part backwards. So we start at the bottom, up to the middle, come down. Now instead of going forwards, we go backwards and up. That can get you confused. The Q gets me a lot. When I'm writing and I've got, I've done G's in the past, I gotta hit a Q, all of a sudden I'll end up doing the Q like a G. That's not fun. Not fun at all. On to the R's. Capital R, much like the P, we start high up, down, back up, and bring it down. Very clearly an R. Some of these cursive words, I can see you not thinking that is that letter. Z's are fun. You're not ready for the Z's yet. Lowercase r, we start at the bottom, up to the middle, come down, and around, like so. S. S is kind of like the I, but this one we write in the correct direction. We start here at the bottom, up to the top, back, and over. We start at the bottom, up to the top, swoop down, back, straight across. Lowercase s, I like to think of as the candy Peeps, and you'll see why in here in just a moment. Start at the bottom, up to the top, a little flick, bring it down, and over. It kind of looks, to me, looks like a little marshmallow peep. Letter T, pretty much an F without the middle part. Capital T, we do our little swoopy-doo, come down, over. Lowercase t, we start at the bottom, don't come all the way up to the top, and over, and then just above the halfway point somewhere, throw in your line. Going on to U, we start just under the top, come up, down, like so. A very large U. I'm trying to keep this in the middle here. I'm sorry, I'm starting to go all over the place here. Lowercase u, we start at the bottom, up to the middle, narrow down, big up, flourish. V looks a lot like U. Got to be careful here. V, you start at the top, come down, make it narrower than U. Do a top side flourish. Lowercase v, come down, over, top side flourish. The U's hook here at the bottom is at the bottom. The V will be just under the halfway point, higher up. That's about the only way you can tell the difference. And of course, with handwriting, when you're writing fast and stuff, those will be similar to each other, and if you're not used to it, you may not know which one's which. That's fine. We roll with it. W, very fun. Start at the top, come up, swoopy-doo, and kind of come back in on yourself a little bit here. Come down, up, back in and over. Very fun letter. Lowercase version, we come down, do 2 V's, basically, and come off the top. You can see the similarities and the differences. X, very fun. Start just under the top, come down, and do the same. And then make a cross in the middle, and here's your X. Lowercase x, similar thing, start at the bottom, come down, back up to the middle. Boom. Lowercase x. Y and Z, we are getting there. We are almost done with the first part of this video. Y, we start just under the top. We're going to come down to the bottom here. Now here you can decide whether to go all the way up or just under. Make it very flourishy. You can have fun with Y's. Pretty much the same thing as the capital, just shrunk it. Here's the kicker. I hope you haven't looked this up before the end of the video. We're going to do a Z, and I'm not going to say anything until I finish it. Capital Z, here we go. That is a Z. It looks funky as heck. Lowercase, same thing, just under. Boom. I don't know who came up with that, but that is how we do the Z. We start just under the top, swoop around, come all the way down to the bottom, tiny loop there, come back, flourish up. I don't know why, but that is how it's done. Now, we will do a quick section where I do the alphabet more my way, and I'm not going to talk until it is done. Focus camera. Thank you, camera. Here we go. And that is the cursive alphabet with Jasper. Stick around for part 2, where I will show you how we connect the letters together to form words. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this useful and informational. Hope it just helps you improve your day-to-day life. Thank you. See you in the next video.